Okay, yo, people. So, man, highest to lowest, right? Highest to lowest. This is the brand new film from the OG, right? The Godfather, my boy, Spike Goddamn Lee. Man, yes, yes, yes. Right? It was written by Alan Fox. Producing the joint, we have got Todd Black, Jason Michael Berman. Okay. Executive producing is Katia Washington. We got Matthew Lindner, Kurosawa, Peter Guber, Kana Idetsu Broadhurst, Chris Brigham, and Spike Lee. Co-producing is Jordan Molodo, Joseph P. Reddy. Yeah, that's it on that front. Howard Drozin took care of the score. All right, cinematography is Matthew Labique. Barry Alexander Brown and Alison C. Johnson edit the piece. Kim Coleman took care of casting. Production design is Mark Friedberg. Art direction, we have Laura Ballinger and Michael Simmons. Lisa Scopa is set decoration. Francine Jasmine Tanchuk is costume design. Hair and makeup, we have Craig Lindbergh, Ngozi Alandu Young, Lawanda M. Pierre, Jacqueline Valiga, Cassandra Ward, and Aaron Warman. We have also got... Let us see, do we have... Okay, yes. Alright. I mean, there's a lot listed, but okay. Jimmy P. Wong, Ted Williams, Dwayne White, Liana Vusk, Matt Triplett, Valisa Tate, Robert Streeper, Gilbert Soto, Robbie P. Smith, David Shumbris, Jeremy Sample, Bob Roseman, Kevin Rogers, Gilles Jose Luis Rodriguez, John Reese, Alexandria Pierre Etienne, Victoria Lee Perella, Levon Panek, Morgan Martin, Dina L. Margolin, Samantha McLove, T. L'Oreal, David S. Lomax, Joanne Lamstein, Grant Koo, Chris C.K. Kelly, Nahala Hope, Corey Hibbert, Ed Heavy, Alejandra Guerrera, Asher Gray, Christopher John Gambos, Sola Gaja, Tim Gallen, Brian Donahue, Trevor E. Dickerson, George B. Kaluki Jr., Chris Colombo, Justin Clark, David Chen, Mike Burke, Jamal Bircher, Frank Bao, Manny Ayaya, Roy T. Anderson, Muhammad J. Ali, Lucini Acuna Jr. all took care of the stunts. Okay? So, doing their thing on screen, we have got Denzel Washington as David King. Ifenesh Hadera plays his wife, Pam King. Their son, Trey, is played by Aubrey Joseph. We then have got his cousin, Paul Christopher, played by Jeffrey Wright. Now, Paul's got a son, Kyle, played by Elijah Wright, who's best friends with Trey. They're essentially like brothers, you know what I mean? We got Rick Fox as Coach Fox, Rod Strickland as Coach Strickland. There is Jensen McRae as June York. Luther, played by Nuri Hazard. Larry Friday, played by Andy McQueen. Julie Tucker, played by Sunny Valentine. Alex Cordova, played by Frederic Weller. Michael Potts is Patrick Beffa. Sam Davis is Shabazz. Right, we have got Gabe, played by Wendell Pierce. Who else do we have? Jade Kane is Dolly. Imana Baru is an employee at Stacking Hits. Right. ASAP Rocky is Young Felon. Marisol Sapeda, played by Ice Spice. Right. AKA Isis Gaston. We have got Police Tech Dylan, played by Alison Worrell. Detective Higgins, played by Dean Winters. Detective Bell, played by LaChance. Detective Earl Bridges, played by John Douglas Thompson. Officer McGillicuddy, played by Ion O'Shea. Officer Bolton, played by Gregory Dan. Don Lemon plays himself. Rosie Perez plays herself. So does Anthony Ramos. Nicholas Tororo plays Frankie the Lunatic. Eddie Palmieri plays himself. And he has his band with him. Who else do we have? Rosa Fontas, played by Princess Nokia. Double Dope, played by Deshaun Harold Mitchell. I think that's our main lot of people. Oh, Sula Jani Zimi is played by Ayanna Lee Anderson. And Rick Key Paget plays himself as well as Suli's pianist. Okay? So, the gist of the film. When a Titan music mogul is targeted with a ransom plot, he is jammed up for a life or death moral dilemma. So there. That's the main gist. Now, this is, right, a reinterpretation of Akira Kurosawa's film, right, High and Low, which was written by Haido Ogini, Ruzo Koshiyama, and Eijo Histaya. Right, and that film, which I did not know, was actually based on a book called King's Ransom by Ed McBain. Right, the book came out in 1959, Kurosawa's classic in 1963, and now we have this. Right, this new Spike Lee joint, and man, so. Matt, like, this is all down to the great people at DDA, right? Gal Fuat, she put it down, right? So mad props for that. I took my boy Daniel Glenn Barber. We went to check this out, right? And yo, this film, man, because there's a lot riding on a Spike Lee joint. You know what I mean? Because it's not just about the film, right? Because Spike's always got something to say or interpret around culture. So it's always something that you kind of look for, right? And I feel we hold Spike up to another level, right? You know what I mean? There's some people that you'll watch the film, you'll be like, yeah, cool. You know what I mean? With Spike, it's like, I mean, it was good, but did he do this? Did he do that? Did he, you know what I mean? Which is unfair, but that's just the level that Spike has taken himself to, you know? And I had word from one of my peoples in NY, right? The great Oriana Eng. Now, I feel she enjoyed it, right? Because for whatever reason, it dropped in the States before coming to the UK. Always irritating. But there's a lot, right? So, man, like, you always go in with, open eyes. I mean, eyes got to be open if you're watching a movie, you know what I mean? But this film, just off the bat, I enjoyed the fuck out of it. Ain't gonna lie. I really did. And it was just the different ways in which this seemed to be told. Like, we have this guy, we have this guy, David King, and he is this mogul, right? They say he's got the best ears in music. And, he's fictional, but they've tied him into the musical landscape in which we know. Right? So we have all of this. And he had he's a hit maker. But times are different, right? The record label isn't as profitable as it once was. He's not got top 10 artists anymore. Just all of these things have changed. But that's the music industry as it is, you know what I mean? Most people, there's been a point where, their stuff took a little slide and then they get back up. And it's not always the quality, it's just what the culture wants at the time. You know what I mean? So that's where we kind of meeting David. He's at that point in his career. So, he's all about, right, trying to spend more time with his wife. And, there's decisions that he has made. But there's been a little shift, right? He's had this epiphany. And we kind of, this is all stuff that you absorb just from what we are seeing. Because the film opens with I can't even, some songs the song, but you don't actually know the name of the song. But that one, Oh, What a Beautiful Morning. Right, that's how this film opens, right? That's playing, and we're seeing the skyline, these buildings, these architectural feats, all of that. That's what we're seeing. So he's on his balcony and he's talking about this deal, and he's decided to reinvent it, right? Find a way to bring things back on his terms. So this film is looking at this mogul at this pivotal time in life and career as he's looking to change things up. You know what I mean? And that's very interesting, right? Because we see Denzel in, in the beginning as a guy who had been, kind of coasting, right? And then we see this pivot on him looking to get back to what he was, right? The person who was making those deals, right? Who had those ears, who was the top shotter. And I think that's very, because I had me and Daniel had this talk after the film about like this one section of the film, because, right, we have this ransom that is being asked, and there's different stages of this whole thing. Now, look, neither point does he necessarily want to pay it, because it's gonna fuck so much shit up, right? But there is those situations where you have to do a thing, right? You have to do it, right? You do, look, you want to do it, but it's just like, fuck, right? But you're gonna do this thing, right? Then it kind of gets to a point where it's just like, technically, maybe you don't have to. And I thought it was very interesting, right? Because now this is where the disagreement comes from, right? Because my interpretation of what I was seeing, and I can be wrong, people, because I feel it's just how you look at a thing. But we are now with David King back in his business mode, right? Back in his I ain't fucking with shit mode, So he is looking at all the angles, like everything. And it's not I'm gonna do it, I'm not gonna do it, but it's weighing things up, right? But everyone is making assumptions. And it's not like, there's assumptions where you kind of feel, right, you are a millionaire, billionaire, you're paying this shit for sure, right? But it's the way you come at people, right? And everyone's just like, yo, just go do it, right? There's, this interesting bit with his son. And, it's just like, I'll come back to that as well. And it's just like, go do this thing. But everyone's talking at him, right? Not going, yo, this is a fucked up situation. This is a tough one, right? It's just like, well, you're good, you're doing it. And I felt in the pushback, it's not because he's not gonna do it, but it's more of a case of, yo, I'm weighing shit up. I'm looking at all the angles. You know what I mean? Because, at the end of the day, I'm on the line on all of this shit. So I'm thinking about it. I'm weighing things up. Right? There's no one saying, hey, would you like to do a thing? Would you? It's all assumption. It's all you have to do. Right? And there's a point where you're tired of being told you have to do. Especially when someone has had the audacity to do this kidnapping and try and ransom a loved one. It's just like, what the fuck? And especially the way this person is talking to you as well. Right? So I thought that was the interesting thing for me. Right? Seeing king process pivot, right? And become old king. You feel me? Rather than the free and easy king that we meet at the start, right? This is the business mode, the beast mode king. So that's how I interpreted it. Now, I might be wrong. I might be wrong. But that was just my take. You know what I mean? But we see all of this. And as I said, with the son, right? There are these lessons, right? These moral codes within this film, which makes sense when you feel it's this, adaptation of high and low, right? But we have these moral things within the film, right? He talks to his son about being on the phone, right? About what he's putting into being a basketball player, about the music industry. Because there's a point his son's like, oh, hey, dude, that company's my legacy too, right? But it's just like, but what are you putting into it? You know what I mean? Because there's an interesting part as well where his son's like, there's this artist and I think you should sign her. He's just like, okay, tell me about her. And he's just like, well, she's good. Right? And it's just like, if you are bringing something, there's ways of doing that shit, right? So you would be, man, this new artist, her voice is kind of reminiscent of, you know what I mean? Give some examples. You might be like, she is kind of like a hybrid, man. A cross between Aretha and Whitney. But with that gritty flavor that kind of feels like it's this new current thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's storytelling, man. If you want someone to be invested, you have to paint that picture to let them know. And his son doesn't show that he can do that shit. Right? So this is a kind of a transition, this film. And we are seeing the youth looking to pivot into things. Right? Because that's our whole thing with Young Felon. And it's those interesting things of people thinking that they're owed something. And you'd be like, what are you doing to try and get to that point? Right? What are you doing to put yourself in a position to seize an opportunity? Because it's like, I'm watching this, I'm doing this, I'm bum, 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 bum. But, I mean, that's basic level shit. What are you doing? So I thought we had these interesting things looking at all of this, right? So story-wise, this was just, man, this had me like, And then we also, because we have this whole Ransom thing, we are kind of toying with the notion of complicity, right? I think I said that right. But who might be involved in this? How did this go down? You know what I mean? So I think we have some interesting things where we're kind of like, boom, shining lights in different directions. And then the way it all unravels as well was kind of like, oh shit, that was kind of, as there are clues in conversations if you're paying attention, right? So we have all of this. But one of the other big things for me visually, this is very striking. All right. Now, it seems that at the start, right, in that old school, when we're having King, as I said, he's more relaxed and chill, right? We got these close-ups. We have a lot of close-ups. We're in close with people. But then when we have the kidnapping, it feels like we're pulling back a little bit more. So we're kind of viewing what is going on. It's more voyeuristic kind of viewpoint on things. And then when it's like now we're on business, we're tracking shit down, we're back in close, right? It's gritty. We're looking for shit, so it's on business, you know what I mean? So I thought we had these interesting visual takes on the film. Right, I did enjoy the score. I did feel, right, on the one down point of the film, I did think that musically, I didn't really need a musical bed underneath every single scene. Right, there's a bit when David's talking to Patrick in the office, and I'm like, I feel that can just be just them talking. Do we need a musical bed? But on the flip, the music was good. The score was good. So it is those things, but I'm just like, sometimes I just want talking. You know what I mean? I don't need music underneath it. Now, the other thing with the music being played, when we have songs, right? Like at the beginning, opens with, "Oh, what a beautiful morning." Right? So that is playing into this phone call that King's having. And throughout the film, we have songs that are telling the story. Like there's a the big payback at one point, right? Superfly. Like we have these songs that are embodying what is about to happen, right? What is going down. And I thought, oh, I like that, right? I like that. And it's also songs that I think are within the DNA of King. You know what I mean? So they're matching his energy, him as a mogul. So we have that. But there is a very, distinct difference between that and Young Felony's songs. You know what I mean? So I thought I enjoyed that aspect of the film, Like Jeffrey Wright, like Denzel's fucking Denzel, man. Denzel is great, Denzel's great. And I'm watching this film, and you know what I mean, like we have his good wife, right, Pam, played by Ifenesh Hadira, and I've seen her in so many things, but it's just like, you know what I mean? I'm watching, I'm just like, oh, who is this again? You know what I mean? But she did a great job with Pam, right? Because Pam's a ride or die. You know what I mean? But there's this point where she's just like, I was your, you know what I mean? I'm always got you. I was your silent partner. Now I'm going to be vocal, right? And she just played this role so well. Like Jeffrey Wright, you just think, is there anything this dude cannot do? Right? We have seen him take on so many different personas. And in this one, man, he really goes to town on Christopher. He really does. And it's just great. You know what I mean? Like, cast-wise, everyone's great. I think ASAP, right, does a decent job as young Felony, right? It's what is needed for the role. It might be one of the weaker performances, just in the essence of, what is there. But what he does bring us is exactly what is needed for young Felony. You know what I mean? So it's just like, I think everyone does deliver and hit the level that is needed. So it is very interesting. Some of the performances, some of the roles, it does like kind of feel like a theatre production in the performance and the way they are oratoring to the viewer, which is an interesting take, but I just think, on all these different levels, right? Just the way the sets are being dressed, like all the art on the wall and the desks and the furniture and the piano and the layout and all of this. It all helps bring this to life and show us, yes, this is this person at this point in their career and their life, and this is what they're doing, right? It just works. It just works. I feel there's probably bits and bobs that I'm just like, But sometimes you just ride this high off of a film, And man, like, you hope something is going to deliver. And I thought this did deliver. I'm like, yo, Spike Lee, Denzel, do it again for a fifth friggin' time. So people, that is highest to lowest. If you enjoy, I think some of the work like Inside Man, Mo Better Blues, that's my joint, right? Girl Sick, just any of them great joints, man, then you want to see this film, Like, there is a great flow with the dialogue, right? And we have these really just fantastic back and forths, right? King and young Felony in the booth. Just all of these different things where it's just this intense, different levels of intensity that are brought out. So I enjoyed this, man. I really did. So people, it is, highest to lowest is playing in the cinema. I'd be interested to, how you find it, right? Let me know, people, in the comments, right? On YouTube, Instagram, all of them things. Because do you think Spike is doing his thing? Were you disappointed? Do you prefer the book? Do you prefer, high and low, right? What's your take? Me? Boom. This is a joint, right? This is a joint. So, that is my views, people, on highest to lowest.